Alright. It's raining cats and dogs. It's coming down out there pretty hard. So the if the noise reducer doesn't do enough enough noise reducing, maybe I'll just trim the intro short. But I'll keep it short and sweet with you. Keep it short and sweet with you until we get in there. Plan for tonight's slightly later lift than normal is forearms and oh, fuck. I forgot. I bought this fucking grip strength tester. I meant to get batteries. Okay, next forearm day we'll measure the fucking grip strength. But either way, today forearms and then probably a bit of accessory work after the fact, which is kind of just it's a TBD. You know, American TBD right now. Forearms is the main course, and anything else is kind of just going to be based on feel. I can tell my calves do not feel very sore right now, so might not be the worst time to add a calf pump in. So maybe that'll be today's lift. But one thing I wanted to say, I feel like to the uninitiated, and by uninitiated I mean like everybody pretty much could imagine themselves jacked and in really good shape. Now, I'm not even talking about as like a hardcore bodybuilder. I mean just I feel like every regular dude could say like, well, you know, if I tried, I could be really fucking impressive, you know. If I tried, I could get pretty big. I'm just not interested, you know, or this, that, or the other. And I hate to hear it because, and maybe I'm just like projecting this in some way or another, but I feel like people make it seem as though it's just like a lights on switch where people go from not working out at all to just being completely locked in, going hard on the fucking regular. Like, do not underestimate, and I don't want to make it sound hard, but don't underestimate the difficulty of actually getting into fucking working out. And what I kind of mean by that is like, if you're the beginner guy, if you don't have a whole routine yet, don't feel bad about yourself. And don't like put yourself down for not having all your fucking, you know, ducks in order or whatever in terms of your training and like your workout split and your diet. It takes a while to actually get into that. So maybe I'm just saying this because I just watched like some David Goggins clips where he's basically saying like, oh, you know, one day I just woke up and I decided to fucking hit it. I'd say, at least in terms of somebody very publicly known, that's like the craziest fucking 180 that I've ever heard of. And I feel like the fact that guys like that just get shown on social media so much, it oversaturates it. It makes it fucking, it makes anybody think like, oh, you know, if I decide to lock in whenever, I'll lock in whenever, you know, it's cool. Like, dude, we're we're 7 months deep. This year is, it's closer to being over than it is to being halfway. Oh, we're past the halfway mark is what I'm trying to say. So I'm sure you know somebody. I'm sure potentially it's even you. I don't want to just call you out directly. So I'll say this is, or I mean this as non-offensively as possible. But if you said you were going to lock in this year and you haven't, odds are you're probably stuck in a certain cycle of, well, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, it's, you know, man, I've got to fucking like put my credit card into the Planet Fitness app. Oh, this is actually kind of complicated apps. I'll do it later, right? Whatever. I'll put it off till later. That's not actually the case, right? And I'm going to talk about this, of course, related to lifting, but you got to remember, the even just saying I'll do it tomorrow, having the mind that you're not saying, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this. What you're saying is, I don't want to do this right now, I'll do it later. Your mindset is, okay, I want to do this later, I don't want to do this right now. And even though later may come, even though tomorrow may come, what's going to happen is by the time you get there, your mindset 99% of the time is going to be exactly the same. To the point where you're just going to end up saying, I'll do it tomorrow anyway. So it's an unfortunate fucking system where a lot of guys end up saying they want to do something, saying they want to get into something, saying they're actually going to start putting energy into something, and then it just never happens. It just fizzles out into nothingness. So that's where you need some trigger, some form of either like a self-reflection or some kind of like event. It's going to be different for everybody. That's going to actually make you say, okay, what have I been doing? Come on. And one thing that you'll realize, and I guess this is now I'm kind of talking to anybody who's actually locked in for real, and anybody that's actually locked in, they don't say they're locked in. They're just doing what they do. That's kind of like a statement that people who aren't locked in talk about. But if you actually get into something for real, and you like it, I'm not saying everybody has to fucking make working out their main thing. I think everybody should work out, but it doesn't have to be your main fucking thing. Once you get into something for real, and you start to make actual progress, whatever vector, whatever field that may be, if you knew that there was like a time period before you started doing it, you're gonna actually look back and say, "Fuck, dude, I wasted like 2 years. Why didn't I start doing this sooner?" So, don't forget, man. You've only got so much fucking time. So, I think I don't really talk about this enough, but when it comes to the working out, I look at it in 2 ways. Right? Everybody should work out. Everybody should have a reasonably fit, strong build. I'm not saying everybody has to be a damn near 260 pounder. That's crazy talk. But I think everybody should be reasonably fit, work out, strong, have a good baseline build, do their cardio. You're just going to feel better, man. Regardless of anyone's circumstance, exercise on a consistent basis, hey, it doesn't have to be weight, just whatever. That's going to be an insane boost to your quality of life in general. So that's my one point. I think everybody across the board should be doing that. And then my second point is everybody needs something which they have serious long-term goals, the likes of which they're putting a really substantial amount of energy and effort into reaching, which also gives them a daily gratification in the process of chasing that goal. If somebody wants to be a goddamn national competitor or like world champion, whatever, or just to become highly proficient at anything, regardless of what that is, be it like, I can't even think of anything, whatever. You want to be a pro golfer, you want to get on tour one day, then that's going to be seriously fucking fulfilling in the long run. So when it comes to my situation right now, those two things are just merged together, right? The daily working out and the kind of long-term progression style approach thing, those just happen to coincide for me. But if your thing is like fucking videography, you want to become a fucking like professional videographer, like actually get gigs and like make like do music videos or whatever. I mean, it's a pretty fucking serious field. Of course, I'm going to reference that because I'm all into the camera stuff now. But if that's you, then I've talked to these guys before. They've been doing this shit for years. They've been practicing it. They're interested in it. It makes them fucking like they like doing it. So regardless of whatever interest you may have, in a long-term sense, if you can find something which you can do pretty reasonably consistently and hold yourself to, you're going to reap the rewards. And guess what? They're going to pay dividends as well. But that's enough of my little get off your ass and get that gym membership rant / speech. Let's fast forward to set number 1, which I think I know exactly what that is going to be. Probably some of some of this action right there, some throttle pulls, if you will. So we can talk about that once we're in there. There we go. I know I said earlier I was going to talk about overtraining. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. If you're systemically fatigued and you're legitimately in need of a rest day, then that means you take one. You know, it's not rocket science there. One thing that I do think is a little bit more interesting to reference is sort of just how far can you think ahead? You know, how far are you thinking ahead in terms of what you're actually fucking capable of? You know, and I feel like in any crazy fucking endeavor, if you were to look at somebody and think like, oh man, would I be able to do what that guy's doing? Fuck. Typically, what somebody's gonna say is like, oh, I don't know if I've got I don't know if I've got the hand-eye coordination for something like that, or like, oh, I'm not really a numbers kind of guy, or whatever. It's like anybody that's doing anything crazy cool compared to somebody who's never done it before, maybe 99 times out of 10, the guy watching is kind of gonna attribute somebody else's success to just like random ass fucking, you know, I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say there. Just random ass, uncontrollable circumstance and luck. You know, I mean that's pretty classic, right? Nobody's gonna look at somebody who's fucking shredding on the guitar in front of 100,000 people on stage and think, wow, that guy must practice a lot. That guy must really put a lot of time into that. They're just gonna be, holy fuck, that guy's fucking, I could never do that. And that's kind of a cheat code. The fact that that's the case, I think, is kind of a cheat code to get yourself hyped up, because it's just not the right way to go about it. Right? Looking at somebody in their end state compared to you in your beginner state is the craziest fucking thing you could ever do in the world. And now, sure, it can give you something to kind of aim towards, but that, you know, that's crazy talk. So the way I look at it, in any field, right? In any field, I mean, when we see the statistics where it's like a TikTok post and it's like only 1% of people in the entire world can bench 315. Are you gonna join the 1%? It just, you know, random silly shit like that. And that's not silly, but yeah, sure. Like, even if that statistic, even if that statistic is correct, it's not the whole story. That's not the whole fucking story. You know, if you were to actually get a much more accurate sort of view of the situation, sure, whatever. And this number's probably not true, but let's just play along with it. Let's say 1% of the world can bench 315. I'm not saying that's the point of anything, but let's follow me here. Maybe that's true. What percentage of the world are even trying? 10? Maybe 10? And then, what percent of the world are even trying and actually putting like a real effort into it? You know, what? Cut that number down to 5. Cut that number down to 3. And then what percentage guys are actually, you know, interested in locking in for more than 6 months at a time and actually going to lock into their diet and actually care about their training and make adjustments and consistently fucking push it on the regular? That number probably comes down to 1%. The guys with results are not just magically the guys with results drawn out of a fucking hat. It's the guys who have put in the amount of time necessary to get those results. And the whole point of what I was just saying there was like, well, how many people are even trying? And like, okay, these guys are actually trying. These guys are actually trying hard. And this small percentage is actually doing everything that they can and optimizing every little bit of their routine to make sure that they're on track to whatever their given goal is. That percentage is so small. So when I look at that and when I think about things like that, all that's telling me is, okay, the more fucking locked in I can get, and the more little aspects of everything else that I can improve upon and consistently meet the requirements of day after day after day, it's no longer a question of if. And this is what I like about working out so much, is it's barely a fucking skill issue. It's barely like, oh, I don't have the talent for, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, there's fucking prodigies out there. You know, there's guys where they're gonna fucking pick up a basketball and 2 years later, they're getting like college offers or just random shit like that. We've all kind of heard the stories, but for the other 99% of the world, I'm not joking. Anybody who does anything fucking cool did everything that it took to get there. So, when somebody might think like, dude, come to the gym is fucking every day, dude, like, including the drive, that's like 2 hours a day. That's fucking unreasonable. Well then, maybe getting gains is just unreasonable for that guy. Like, I got I always get comments on the forum days. It's like, what kind of guy would drive all the way to the gym just to hit forearms and calves? Who would do that? Now, apart from the obvious answer being this guy, I can tell you who would do that. Somebody who wants bigger forearms and somebody who wants bigger calves. The answer's right there in front of you. So, I mean, it just kind of depends on you, man. Let's see which way they turn it. EMS car. But whatever. So, what was I about to say? What was I getting at there? And you'll see it. You don't have to, apart from the fact that you can see every top dog ever, and with a really fucking huge rise of social media, kind of making a spectacle out of whatever given thing you're interested in, which lets us see some pretty serious, actual, like, detailed info about guys who are actually killing it. Just look at your gym. Look at the fucking top dog in your gym. And I'm not even saying somebody who's like has the craziest results ever, but someone who's got legit results. They know what they're doing. They're going hard on a consistent basis. It's not magic. It's not fucking magic, man. That guy shows up on the regular. He knows about his diet. He knows about his sleep. He knows about making adjustments to his training, not hurting himself. And he just consistently fucking shows up. Like, working out, I like the fact that it's a long-term, just accrual of progress, as long as you're actually, doing everything reasonably right. So how you can kind of think about it, like every time you go to the gym, man, you're just fucking, you're just adding what's a good word here? You're putting a little scoop of water into a bottle, right? You're adding some rocks to the pile. You're digging another shovel worth of dirt out of the hole. So every time you show up and every time you're on point, if you do that on the regular, even if every day you're not even making 1% improvements, you're making 0.01% improvements, over time, those will add up. And those will add up exponentially. So on a day-by-day basis, I mean, you're not going to expect anything crazy. But the longer you work out, guess what's going to happen, man? Fast forward like a year, if you haven't run into somebody and then you suddenly see them again, they're going to notice. Fast forward 2 years, dude, 2 years of serious working out and then tracking your diet and kind of optimizing all your hydration and everything, you can become completely unrecognizable. And I've seen it. I get tagged in all the fat loss transformations or like the workout journeys and everything else. I see it so fucking often. And those guys especially, I know for a fact that they understand what I'm saying. Because, and what I'm talking about is the guys who have made like serious fat loss transformations where they started off like pretty overweight, 2 years past, reasonably fucking jacked. So the reason why I like those guys the most is because they had to get everything right from the get-go. If your fitness journey started off a bit, on the fucking heavier side, you've got a chore, you've got this excess body fat to take care of, then that means that you didn't get to just start lifting and then leave the diet side alone. That's pretty often. I mean, if you're just a regular kind of normal 15-12% body fat guy and you start working out, you're gonna grow muscle, you're gonna be big. But the diet portion of things, you don't actually have to fucking seriously optimize to make the gains you want. As a beginner, you can eat the normal food that you normally eat. Just adding weight training is gonna give you results. But for somebody to go through the process of not only making their beginner gains, but also peeling off their body fat that they don't need anymore, not that they ever needed it in the first place, but you get what I'm saying, they have to have everything pretty much on point from the beginning. Calories, discipline, training, consistency, everything. So, when I get to talk about calories, and especially in person, guys who actually have been through it and have gone through the process of making serious changes to their build because of their ability to actually really start tracking everything calorie wise, their training, their diet, their sleep, their hydration, their everything. That's what I like to hear the most. So that's why I really like kind of pushing these main points when it comes to the gym, because they are going to make serious changes if you can optimize them. I know I say this a lot. I don't mean to be repetitive, but I kind of can't stop talking about it. If you train as hard as you can, right? You're seriously pushing as hard as you can muster on the regular, on a very consistent basis. That's not to derail my fucking speech, but that's a telephone pole that's been ripped in half. Whoa. Let's just hope everybody's all fucking right. Damn. But getting back to what I was saying, not to make light of that situation, but getting your fucking training right, going hard on a consistent basis. I'm not even saying you have to have the perfect routine, but if you've got a basic starting point, you're copying other guys like workouts on YouTube and everything else, perfect. You're training hard, you're putting energy into it, you're actually caring about the sets that you're doing. You're not just going through the motion, you're actually trying to make every fucking rep count. Like you're not just doing a rep and taking it easy, like you're trying to get an extra squeeze on the top and everything. Like you're present in the moment during your training. Pillar number one. Get a solid ass amount of fucking water in your system. I'm talking about carrying around a gallon jug at school, at work, at wherever you gotta go. Adding a good night's rest onto that. Not 5 hours a fortnight before you go to bed. You get only 2 fucking hours. Not particularly conducive to gains at all. Hit your protein every day. Right? Start trying to get into tracking your calories. Maybe look up a maintenance calorie calculator. That's not so much of a first step. You can save that for a little later on. And then I don't know what I'm talking about. Only 4. If you can lock those in, only gains of weight. And I can't say it with any more emphasis than that. So, plan now is get some food in my system, and then get a good night's fucking rest. I'm dying tired. I'm gonna have a really fucking deep sleep. Arms tomorrow. I don't know if I'm too much of a nut about it, but on reasonably frequent occasion, sometimes I'll have dreams about the workout that I'm gonna do the next day. And on the craziest times, what'll happen is I'll dream that I had a leg day, and I'll literally, I mean, I don't do like every set or whatever, but for whatever reason, like in the dream, I feel like I actually finished the leg day. So when I wake up, I actually think it's the next day, and I kind of have to do a little bit of a sort of realization. But maybe that's just a me thing. But either way, nasty lift complete. Even if it was a little bit more on the chill side, especially compared to like a leg day or anything, it served the purpose which I wanted. Forearm stimulation and calf pumpage. Well, stimulation too, but you know what I'm saying. So I will see you tomorrow for quite the freaky arm day. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I don't feel like I'm overestimating just how pumped I'm gonna be. So I'll see you then. The bulk. I'm not gonna say it's day one. Tomorrow is actually day one, but I'm just gonna kind of start eating at this point. And as much as you may think, like, oh crap, Sam's about to start bulking, that means he's gonna have 5,000 calories today. Not exactly. Not exactly, and I'll explain why. I will explain why. So, historically, I have done that. That has been my approach in the past, because in my mind, I think, all right, I'm bulking, I gotta eat in a crazy surplus, 5,000 calories, let's hit this shit. Boom. And then I'm doing like 800 grams of carbs a day, day one of the bulk. And it's just not the best fucking move, you know?
Like, clearly it worked. I'm definitely pretty big and I've made consistent gains over time, but I've been limiting myself, you know, and I'm not afraid to say it because I'm trying to learn and improve all the time, right? So I'm going to, if I don't look back a few years and think, man, I should have been doing this, this, and this, and then doing that now, then that means that my training and my diet and everything hasn't improved, you know. So this is the bulk which I think is going to be the most locked in by a few fucking degrees, and I'm super fucking excited about that. So rather than just immediately start chowing down on all sorts of sweets and treats and everything else, no, not exactly, right? I'm going to ease into it. So month one is essentially the fucking honeymoon period of this bulk, because it's going to be the most chill month, because I've been eating at 2,500 calories, just about. Like, sometimes I'll have a little high day. Like, I've had a few days this last week where I had 3,000, and then I had a few lower days when I had like 2,200. But just about 2,500 has been my baseline for the last few weeks. So I'm not going to immediately double that to 5,000. I now am under the impression that that's silly. So this first month, all I have to do is pretty much just eat when I'm hungry, you know? Because for me, right now, with my appetite, to just eat enough throughout the day, like, all right, I'm kind of hungry, I'll just eat around here, that's going to put me at about 3,500 calories. Like, I think so far today, I'm already at like 2,000. So I'm going to be eating about 3,500 for these first few weeks. And that is going to give me kind of a refeed. I'm going to start growing. And after, I'm guessing a month, but it may be less than that, I'm going to up it from that 3,500 to 4,000, because I will have basically gotten as much size and gains as I can from the 3,500. And then, right, now I got to up it, because I always want my diet to be stimulating. If I'm eating, like, if I started eating 3,500 calories, I would eventually plateau, because I would get used to that calorie intake. So if I want to keep the bulking, then I'm going to increase the calorie load as it progresses. And this worked so well for me on the last bulking phase. I think I only had like 4 months. Like, the last one was relatively short. It kind of got cut short because of the Arnold month. We were really going around, kind of traveling a lot. So that plus finals, I decided to cut that bulk a little bit short. But that last bulking period, I went from 230 to 260, and that was the easiest I've ever gotten to a new peak weight, because I eased into the calories over time. So that's the plan. Basically, just eat when I'm hungry, around 3,500 for those first few weeks, and then increase it slowly from there. Because if I immediately start eating 5,000, what's going to happen, and what has happened historically, is I get 3 months of really solid progress. Like, 5,000 is a lot of food. It takes some time to get used to 5,000 fucking calories a day. But eventually I get to a point where I just can't keep it up. And me doing 5,000 a day, I'm no longer growing. All I'm doing is maintaining my size and strength. So it's hard to go up from 5,000, you know? And anybody that you know who has like said, like, dude, I used to eat 8,000 calories when I was bulking, 90% chance they're maybe not lying, because they could just not be informed. But odds are, you know, that older guy at your gym who said he used to eat 8,000 calories a day, he was probably not tracking everything correctly, you know. And I'm not going to say it's not true. I mean, there's guys who can eat fucking 10,000 calories a day on the regular. But for me, my appetite limits me at around that 5 to 6 mark. So I'm in no rush to get there. Right? I want to make use of 3,500 calories, grow as much as I can from that, and then increase the calories as necessary. So that's the calorie changing approach. And getting into the, yeah, so I'm not joking when I say 10 pounds of just intramuscular water and carbs. And one thing that I kind of want you to take away from that is the fact that a lot of the times, no matter if you're a super kind of advanced, like bigger lifter or a smaller guy, your day by day weight fluctuations aren't an awesome indicator of your progress diet wise. Now, when I say diet, that could be a bulking diet or a fat loss deficit diet. But in either case, you know, trying to look at and read the scale day to day to day. You know, if you wake up, if you have extra good sleep one day, you may be a touch more light that morning because you fucking passed all the water through your system when you pee, or if you had a massive meal right before you went to bed, then you're going to wake up and still kind of maybe have some food in your stomach. Or if you had more sodium one day than the other, then you're going to hold more water or lose more water. Like your day-by-day fluctuations of weight, it can vary. You know, when I zoom in, because this whole bulk, I'm really good about it when I start a bulk, and then I kind of phase it out. But I always track my weight and plug it into a Google spreadsheet. So day by day, when I zoom in on that graph, it looks like this. It's just going up and down. Like I can be 3 pounds heavier one day and 3 pounds lighter the next. But looking at that week to week projections, that's where I actually see linear fucking growth, you know? So that's what I'm more so concerned with. And that's where if you start a diet, don't get immediately like freaked out if you do a week of a deficit and then you say to yourself, holy crap, I just dropped 10 pounds. Oh, I'm eating in way too steep of a deficit. Because there's an initial phase of dieting and an initial phase of bulking where the weight loss and the weight gain that you're experiencing are not real muscle and it's not fat. It's purely just, fucking water and sugar. Because your body basically runs off of carbs and fats for energy. That's kind of the two basic fuel sources, right? Protein, of course, has calories in it too, but you're really running off fats and carbs. So as soon as you start to restrict your calories, what happens is your fucking, your carb fuel all around your system gets used up first. Because it's really easy to break down carbs and energy. Fats takes a little bit more time. So the opposite of that would be once you start eating a lot of food from a deficit, all of your carb sort of storage in your body fills up. So that's an initial 10 pounds of weight that you just gained, which isn't muscle. It's not muscle and it's not fat. It's just intramuscular glycogen, right? Like 1 part glucose to 3 parts water or something like that, So once I've made that initial 10-pound jump and I'm back to just walking around full of food, then I'm going to go from a steep jump to an even growth. And I'm projecting about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of weight gain per week-ish. Probably around there. Any more than that, and I'd say you're probably not, effectively gaining weight. And you may just be putting on, excess fat. It's more common that people have a problem bulking up at all and not being able to eat enough food. But if you're one of the rare few who can slam calories like there's no tomorrow on a consistent basis, then you might actually have to ease back a little bit. Take your foot off the gas when it comes to your calorie intake, because if you eat too much too soon, it's not gonna be effective. All you're gonna do is kind of overflow your system and then start putting on extra body fat more than you need to. If you're gonna start doing a real bulk, body fat's, it's just a fucking part of the game. You're gonna have to deal with it. You're gonna be a little bit softer, but that's just the price of, consistent muscle gain. Now, of course, you can try main gaining. I think that's a perfectly fucking valid approach, especially for the beginner who is much more concerned about just getting training, knowledge, and experience under his belt. But after you've lifted for long enough and you've kind of plateaued your main gaining approach, I really do think that going into a kind of a bulking and cutting phase is a good next step towards continued gains. So this will be my last lift uncarbed up, and then the freak factor should begin to suddenly and rapidly increase. So plan for legs, same as normal, and this bulk especially, I'm really trying to prioritize a lot more pressing volume for quads. So I love leg extensions, of course, but there's going to be a lot more squatting volume, a lot more leg pressing volume for sure. And then hamstrings will be pretty much about the same as I've done them. Hamstring curls, laying, seated, as well as RDLs. So let's fast forward about an hour and a half, finish the lift, and head back home. It's only 4:15 right now. This is pretty early for me, but that's really only because this gym closes at 6 on the weekends. Rather fucking unfortunate. Whoa. But it's not over. Are you guys insane? It's it was the last day of the bulk, the end of the videos. You are out of your freaking mind, my man. Now we just start the cut. We got day one of the freaking cut. God damn it! So gonna be pretty similar, and especially since the videos are really mainly just about the lifting. Occasionally, I'll talk about. Well, I'll get into the diet too, but basic idea. I'm gonna drop the calories down, limit them to. Well, I'm gonna see. I'm not exactly certain because I was doing 2,500 on my last cut, but I've definitely built some more muscle. I'll see how I feel. I'll see how I feel. Right now, I kind of have a difficult gauge because one thing you can do is you look up your maintenance calories online. You plug in your height, your weight, your energy level, or your activity level, your age, your gender, and what's gonna happen is you plug in all that info, and it'll just poop out a number. 2,800 calories. I think those are probably good as a ballpark estimate, but you're really it's not going to be exactly accurate. I would say, well, for me, what happens is if I just eat as much food as I'm hungry for, that's my maintenance calories. Right? If I just satiate my hunger, but don't go overboard, like don't eat a fucking ton every time I eat. For me, just naturally, I'll just eat at maintenance. So, if I were to just eat whatever I want, or just whatever I'm fucking hungry for, whatever, I'd say I'd probably end up eating around probably I don't even know, probably maybe 3,500 calories or so, something like that. Definitely no less than that. But what I was gonna say was, let's say you do plug in your info into the maintenance calorie calculator, and then it tells you if you want to lose weight, eat 2,500 calories per day. Now it'll tell you a little so what you should do. How do you figure out what macros you have to fucking do? Because 2,500 calories, that doesn't mean anything, right? You can make 2,500 calories with just pure fucking fat, right? Or you could just eat a fuck ton of carbs only. You could eat just fucking 2,500 calories worth of Skittles, and that would be 2,500 calories. So I'd say a basic rule of thumb for dieting for me, or I'd probably recommend it to you guys as well. This is kind of I'd say this is a pretty decent way to go about it, is you take your maintenance, drop it down a couple hundred to a deficit, and then your protein should be a gram per pound of body weight. So if you're a 175-pound dude, you need at least 175 grams of protein. I mean, you can get away with less, but I'd say that's good. That's a good amount. That's within the range of an effective amount of protein. A gram per pound of body weight will do you good. No need to do like 2 or 3, but you also don't want to do like, only a quarter gram per pound either. So a gram per pound of body weight, and then I remember seeing somebody say some shit like 50 grams of fat is about right, just to make sure you can still, it's just good for you to have that much oils floating around, triglycerides and whatnot on them. So pretty much what I'll do is I'll do gram per pound of body weight of protein, around 50 grams of fat, and then the rest I'll just eat carbs. But what I was going to say was I'm not sure how many calories I'm going to limit myself to, because I can't really tell how hungry I am. So to be in a deficit, just by nature, your body is telling yourself, or your body's sending you, your mind signals, you're not eating enough food, you should eat more. So let's say you plug in your information into the stupid simple, into the calorie calculator, and you've been eating that many calories, and you don't feel hungry. That's probably a fucking sign that your bulk is your calories are just way too high up. I'm not saying that you should always be fucking starving yourself. Absolutely not. That's fucking immediate road to going catabolic, lose some fucking muscle. But if you are trying to do a deficit and you're trying to lose body fat, you should feel it. You know, I would say if you don't feel like you're kind of manually eating less than you want to, well then, you're eating as much food as your body needs, because then you just be like I was saying before, you're just eating as much as you want. You have to you have to fucking you got to put the fork down sometimes. There is no possible chance that you can lose body fat if you eat more calories in the day than you burn. It's not even a debate. This isn't something that can be argumented. This is not an argumentative point. If you eat more fucking food than your body burns in its daily caloric expenditure, then you will never lose fat. So I wouldn't fucking look into, I'm trying to think of some diets. At Atkins. For me, I find the most simple fucking method of understanding how to change the way that your body is composed is, for one, by tracking your macros in the stupid simple macro tracker. Not a paid plug. I just like that fucking app because it's stupid simple. No need to complicate this shit. And then, being able to adhere to a fucking diet. I think a lot of lifters are either just uninterested or unable to stick to a diet which has, a legitimate, feasible purpose. Some people, I think, well, just in general, people don't understand how food works in the sense of, like, you ever hear people say bread is fattening? Uh, I, I mean, like, I think in general, people understand a basic sense of, like, high sugar food, bad for you, this, that, whatever, this, that. You get what I'm trying to say? But people don't connect the dots in the fact that the food that you fucking take in, the fuel you're putting into your body, that's going to determine how you fucking look. So I'll probably get into that in more detail when just obviously I'm going to be talking about a calorie deficit for the next like 2 months. So I'm sure I'll come up with some better points. But enough chatting. I didn't even talk about legs. What the fuck is going on here? So, leg day, goddammit. Already drank the pre. Some hostility and some bloodshot. And legs is going to be composed of hamstrings and quads. I'm going back to that, back to the normal split. I didn't really like the back and buys, tries hamstrings. I like the idea of it. It seemed like it would be cool, but fuck it. Go back to what I like. So, hamstrings first. Gonna be a fucking variety of hamstring curls. Only seated because this gym, the laying hamstring curl is just fucking, it just kind of sucks, honestly. It's like, it's old, it's retro, it's like an old Nautilus leg curl. But it's not old in a cool retro way. It's old in the chain is really mushy and it's like fucking full of friction kind of way. It's old in it needs, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's old in it needs work kind of way. But what are you gonna do? I like seated leg curls anyway. I haven't really done them for a while. I've mainly been doing laying leg curls. Maybe I'll throw in some RDLs as well, but leg curls are probably my favorite movement for some hamstring destruction. Just because it's the simplest method to hit the hamstrings. What do your hamstrings do? Now, I'm not saying they don't do all sorts of shit, but for the most part, they fucking take your leg from a straight position to a bent one. Imagine, oh, what does this look like? Oh, it looks like a fucking leg curl. Just makes sense. And I can get a crazy pump, load up a considerable amount of weight. Not that that's the point, but some movements you're just weaker on because of the nature of it. But whatever. Hamstrings are going to get thrashed. And then I'm going to move on to quads. Quads is going to be some combination of leg extensions as well as perhaps some other stuff. Not exactly sure what. That's in the far future. I've still got to finish hamstrings first before I start even thinking about quads. That typically ends up being my mentality. Like, When I go in to do arms and I'm doing triceps first, I'm not even thinking about what I'm going to do for biceps. Right? Tries have my complete focus, 100% attention. Right? Same with hamstrings. So let's just quit talking and get this cut started. Holy shit!